So we're team Flash. We're working with Flash, and my name is Garrett Montague. I have an associate's degree in electrical automation and robotics technology. I'm a senior here at UVU and working towards a technology management degree.
I'm Nick Osler. I'm also a senior here at UVU. I have my associates in university studies. I am a purchasing manager at Pugs.
I'm Austin Gifford. I'm also a senior at UVU. I have an associate degree in cabinetry and architectural woodworking. I'm currently working on a degree in technology management, and I'm working for Fenster Architectural Woodwork as a CNC machine programmer.
I'm Jerry Allen. I'm also a senior at UVU. I actually work at Flash and one of the leaders in putting this project together.
I'm Adam Greer, and I'm also a senior. Also, what Garrett did, electrical automation, robotics technology. Also doing technology management. I work at Premier Tech Kronos in Salt Lake, installing valve bagging equipment. So, please bear with us while we switch the screen to show our presentation.
Our project, project is Flash Technologies LLC. We're group 3. Our project overview is, first of all, what is CMP? CMP stands for Chemical Mechanical Planarization. We are a giant sander. You see in the picture right there, this is one of our tools called the AMAT Reflection LK. And this is a 12-inch wafer on a 30-inch pad on platen. Tip the wafer upside down and you just grind it into the pad. Also, here in the picture where the mouse is at is called the lower cross cover. This is one of the part that we take off in the PM and you clean in the ultrasonic bath. What is a PM? The PM team. The PM is preventative maintenance. We're scheduled technicians that go in, schedule downtime on a tool, and do 300 plus minutes of downtime on it. Since this is a large amount of downtime, we have scheduled technicians instead of daily shift technicians, so that way they can focus on keeping the rest of the tools up and running while we focus on maintaining these tools. In this project, our project manager was actually selected by our project sponsor. Our sponsor asked him to be the lead in the project, and this project manager's name was Sean. Unfortunately, Sean is not with us tonight. He had his baby boy was recently born this week with difficulties, and he was in the hospital with taking care of his child at this time. He was great, been a great project leader, great managing up to the project up till now. The success of our criteria for our project is based on finding an acceptable room at Flash facility site here in Lehigh that could be renovated into a workshop for the CMP PM team. This project success is catered around finding the room, getting it renovated, or planned to be renovated, then utilized by the PM team for our parts rebuilds and our parts cleaning. Feedback from our sponsor is very positive, encouraged about what we put together, our proposal, what we've come up with, and he's very thankful for our Flash team and the support and assistance given to the PM team for moving forward, the reason why we need a rebuild shop. Even though original objectives were not accomplished, the data that we've gathered and time that we spent putting together is allowing the project manager to levy the information that he needs to go up to upper management for getting us a room.
Thanks, Jeremy. I'm going to take some time and talk about the scope of our project. During our project, like we discussed, we had to make some changes. So what I wanted to do is kind of compare our original to our actual scope. Now, our original scope was to produce a semi-clean room for the IM Flash CM PM team. In order for this project to be a success, the space needed to be in a clean area, so repairs and pre-assembly and the overall cleanliness required for the sensitive equipment could take place. In addition to the clean room, we will need to allocate space for replacement parts, extra parts. Some of the key points we need to reach are: we need a drain system, we need power, both 120 AC and 220. Plus, we need a good, solid area and a bench and a space to work on these parts. One of the larger requirements for this project was going to be the ventilation and the exhaust system. For some of the debris produced, although it's not hazardous, needs to be collected and kept from spreading. This part of the project would have required a large amount of our budget because it included the need for contractors, IM Flash personnel, and altering the building. As mentioned, we need to change our scope. As we went through the project, we hit a few setbacks. This required us to change our scope. We found it was more difficult to find a room than anticipated. We also had to deal with changes to IM Flash that caused them to tighten the finances and become more stringent when they invested. In order to help meet this roadblock, we needed to increase the justification for the space and the needed budget we were originally allotted. This heightened requirement and the delayed time frame challenged us to justify our project more than anticipated, so we had to change our scope to better our stance and helping gather the required information to gain approval for the room. One of the first big change is we had to reach out for bids from other companies that did the same work as the CMPM team is doing. This way, we could further break down the ROI and prove this is a worthwhile project and the value of having a location for the CMPM team is there. For our new scope to be successful, we needed to gather the bids and information to create a strong ROI probability and strengthen our case to solidify the needed room.
Okay, so our project deliverables were an efficient workspace for our parts rebuilds for our CMPM team. Currently, they are rebuilding the Ibarra 300's cleaner arms and bevel sponge assemblies and top ring rotary joint octopus tubing. There's actually a picture in the bottom right corner of the machine they're talking about there. Needs to be a semi-clean room, like Nick said, because these parts are going back into a clean room to be installed into the Ibarra cleaner arm and then tested before being sent back to the shift teams. Suitable workspace for part cleaning and the PM team is needed so that they don't take up the space from the production shift employees. To reduce the tool downtime, they prepare the parts that can be before taking the machine down. And then they also need secure hand tool storage so that they can lock their tools up so they don't get taken away, so they can find them when they need them. They also are trying to follow the success standards for cleanliness and organization that are followed by an IM Flash, and the area will be locked so that their expensive equipment doesn't get tampered with. Some of the successful deliverables that we had where we found a room that was 30 feet by 30 feet and it already had many of the utilities pre-installed, such as the clean dry air, 120 volts AC, the industrial waste drain, and also the non-potable water, which this was actually a pretty big advantage to us because it really cut back on our budget and helped save us a lot of money and a lot of time in getting more contractor bids for those things. Another deliverable that was successful that we received that we are giving to the project sponsor is a workbench. We had this workbench bid by a local woodworking company called Ingrained Woodworking. You can see the bill of materials that they gave us there. They suggested building it out of maple because it is very sturdy and will last the team a long time. It also has, as you can see in the drawing, it has the necessary drawers for the storage and a board with holes behind it that they can hang some of their hand tools on. Some of the unachieved deliverables were bids for the ultrasonic bath, bids for the exhaust system, the ventilation hood, and the sandblast cabinet. We had submitted our requests to IM Flash. Then those requests have to be sent back up to IM Flash headquarters, and then IM Flash headquarters then has to send feedback back down the line to the CMP PM team in order for anything to happen. Now, our request, we had found the equipment that was not being used in other places in the facility, and we were wanting to just get them moved by the IM Flash maintenance team to hopefully save us money on our budget. But we have not heard back from the IM Flash headquarters. The IM Flash headquarters kind of has had a history of taking a long time on decisions like that. Also, we sent out estimates to get parts cleaned. The main competitor for the CMP PM team is actually the IM Flash headquarters, their corporate maintenance team. So we sent out a couple requests for estimates for a couple of different parts, and we got one of those back, but we still have the estimate for the arms that the CMP PM team rebuilds, which is one of the main products that they are servicing right now for the daytime technicians. And we need that in order to accurately present the ROI to IM Flash to further our project.
Now, with this being an online class, we have the opportunity to take advantage of many of the available communication tools at our disposal. Kind of the tools we use for communication consisted of Google Hangouts, text messaging, phone calls, and obviously emails. These tools enabled us to bridge the communication gap effectively, given we're all working professionals, we all have school. It really made that available for all of us. Besides the communication, we also used Rakai chart. That way we were able to assign who was required and who was responsible for different tasks. That way we could ensure that we continue to move the project forward, and we knew who to contact for any given assignment. Microsoft Project, obviously a very big contributor to this project. We use Microsoft Project to keep track of our budget and our schedule. Beyond that, we had our WBS dictionary, our risk tracker, and down to the Gantt chart in Microsoft Project. Those are some of the tools that we utilized to help us keep track and facilitate this project.
One of the things that Nick just stated was using Microsoft Project for scheduling. As you can see here, this is our original versus actual start and finish dates for this project. As you can see down there, for the execution control, the actual finish data to be determined any business in the economy, things change and it change the priorities of a company on what needs to be done and when to do it, as occurred here. So our schedule was greatly thrown off due to high impact risk becoming a reality. This caused our scope to change to collect the necessary documentation for the CMP PM team get the room they need once the semester is over. Originally, our schedule was planned to complete all the bids and have the contract work completed by the 17th of April. After contractors are getting the bids are going slow and getting back to us, and the bids from the Iron Flash Central headquarters also getting slow back. Their estimates back to us. It's become possible to complete this project by the April 17th deadline or by the end of this semester. So now schedule switch to compiling contractor bids from the headquarters and receive estimates to finish up the ROI.
So our original budget estimate that we gave the project sponsor was $115,000 to complete this project. That was an early estimate that we used to get the project started. The project sponsor came back and actually gave us $85,000. And as we got into our project, we realized we really only needed about $65,000 for everything that we're doing. So as you can see on the right, there's a chart that shows our original budget versus our actual budget. That's broken out into our initiation stage, our planning stage, execution, control, and closeout. And that was our budget for the $65,000. The execution phase, you can see, has a majority of our budget because that was the phase that we were getting all of our equipment from. Now, if you look at our actual budget, it was reduced by $51,000. That is because, like Jeremy stated, our schedule got pushed back with slow returns on bids from contractors, as well as IM Flash actually required every department in the facility to provide justification of the areas that they were using. And that made it so we had to go back and really focus on the ROI, get all the contractor bids in, and then submit those before we continue our project. And the lack of planning and follow-up on that risk actually is what caused us to no longer be able to complete the project as we should have set more clear expectations with those that we were working with. In the end, even after we reduced our budget, we still stayed under budget by $11,581. And on this slide, this chart shows the impact that $51,000 had on our execution portion. You can see how the prices changed for all of our different utilities and also for all the different equipment that we had. We did still leave some budget in there because our team still had to look for all of the available equipment in order to bring together a project bid for the project sponsor. So in the end, we went from attempting to fully furnish the CMP PM team workshop to providing the necessary documentation to justify the cost of creating the CMP PM team workshop so that they can continue this project after this semester is over. Our earned value. This chart shows all the different aspects of our earned value. We have planned value in the first column, actual value, the remaining budget on each of those items, and our earned value. As you can see, our earned value was all positive. We did very well as far as the cost portion of this project went. Our earned value, our cost variance, and our cost performance are all very high. Exception of our closeout portion, which we didn't budget any money for our time that we would spend on our closing out of the project. But you can see off of our earned value, that our schedule variance and our schedule performance is really where we struggled. Just like we mentioned before with those contractor bids being slow coming back from IM Flash headquarters. Almost all of those we are in the red, which means we are behind schedule. And our schedule performance is all, except for our planning and initiation phases, is all under 1, which means that we are behind schedule again.
All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the risks and some things that went well with the project and some things that did not go well. First of all, the biggest risk was getting the stakeholders to approve the project and initiate it through their supply, or the way they initiate projects. Because as a large organization, it's difficult to submit things quickly because of the limited time of the semester. We didn't have the time that we probably would have need to complete the project. Another risk was the return on investment was not adequate. Depending on how much money we put into it, it would help or not help the project succeed. Another risk is the market fluctuation. Depending on how the economy is doing, that's another risk. Another risk is that providing the team can build the project somewhere else. So basically, rebuilding the project in a different location and not being able to use the space for this project. Moving on to some things that went right. We did find a room. It took a while, and it had all the things we need, 30 by 30 feet, had clean, dry air, or CDA, had all the power requirements, had the drained and the water requirements. Something else that went well is we had a good cost performance and cost value through the job. Some things that went wrong were the project was too big and some things were undefined, and it was very difficult to control, and thus it's still in progress, but as far as this semester is concerned, it is incompletable. And there are some other things that we'll talk about later as well.
Thanks, Adam. I'm going to take a minute and talk about our team's lessons learned on our project. As discussed above, we had to deal with a massive change to our scope. So some of what we learned was the hard way, but very educational. So what did our team learn by working on this project? Our team was able to gain a better knowledge on how to use Microsoft Project and create and use a Gantt chart to our advantage. Only a few individuals on our team had ever used a Microsoft Project for this class. So learning how to use Microsoft Project was a benefit to us all. Our team was able to gain a knowledge on earned value management. This was a term that none of us had heard of before this class. It is a great tool that helps project managers be able to measure the project's performance. It is a systematic project management process that is used to find the variances in projects based on the comparison of work performed and the work that is planned. EVM is a tool used for cost and schedule control and can also be very useful in project forecasting. We as a team gained a great knowledge on how important it is to follow up with each other and all others that are involved with the project frequently. Did we work as a team? We learned what each other's strengths were and used them to our advantage on our project. Communication. Our communication was relied solely upon email at first, and we found that this is not a good idea. When someone needs to be reached quickly, this is not the right tool in those situations. So we found that email was a good for weekly reminders and sending documents. As time went on, we made sure that we had each other's phone numbers so we could make phone calls and text each other for quicker responses. What are the lessons learned? Planning. We spent time planning and going through the milestones. We learned that this needs to be one of the most important activities, and time spent planning can help mitigate delays and issues. One example to this was setting the expectation with contractors for bids. We learned that we needed to break down our larger goals and dates into smaller ones, so that they would have been easier to obtain, as well as keeping our project on track and on schedule. One of our biggest lessons learned by our group was to choose a project that is doable in the time frame that you are given, especially if the time frame is critical like ours was.
All right, so in conclusion, we learned a lot on this project, and we'll close this, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation.